What do you do when your bobbin is full? I only have one bobbin because it's an antique wheel. If you have a new spinning wheel, you can just put on a fresh bobbin. I do not have that option. So instead, we're going to take all of this fresh single ply yarn off and ball it up. Taking the tension off of the drive band so everything is nice and relaxed. I am just going to start turning this into a ball. It's going to take a while. I'll be back in a minute. I've reached the end of the ball. Now it's very much tangled with my starter yarn, and I actually did, looks like I tied a knot. So I'm just going to untie the knot in my starter yarn. Ball. Okay, so I now have two balls of single ply yarn. They are about the same size, which is great because I basically just filled up the bobbin, and when the bobbin is full, I wound them off. So now we can actually make 2-ply yarn. So what we're going to do is come over to the wheel and we're going to ply them together. If you are lucky enough to have 3 bobbins that fit your spinning wheel, then you can take advantage of something called a lazy Kate, which is basically just a bar that you mount the bobbins on, and you can have 2 bobbins mounted on there at the same time and just bring that into your spinning wheel as is, so you don't have to wind them into balls. If, like me, you only have 1 bobbin or even just 2 that fit your spinning wheel, then you need to get a little bit more creative. So I make use of something called Flowerpot plying. So basically we're going to use these to hold the yarn in place, to hold the balls in place, and we're just going to thread them through like this so it stays nice and neat, and the balls will stay in each of their flower pots. So I've got my starter yarn and I've got my 2 yarns, and I'm going to tie a little knot around them using my starter yarn. You could try to just spin it onto the starter yarn, but I do not have success with that very often, so we're just going to tie on that. Okay, now the key thing here is when you are spinning the yarn, whatever direction you spun your yarn in, you're going to ply in the opposite direction. So I always spin my yarn with my wheel going clockwise, just to my right. So I will ply my yarn going counterclockwise to the left. So the way that I kind of hold my yarns to make sure they stay separate up here like this, and then I'm going to use my left hand to just control how much twist I'm getting closer to the orifice. My bobbin is now full of plied yarn. I still have a lot left, so what that means is that I'm going to have to do this more than once, and it needs to come off and go onto my niddy noddy. Before I can take the yarn on my bobbin and get it on the niddy noddy, I have to take this skein off of the niddy noddy. This is a cheap niddy noddy that I made with PC pipe. My skein is already ready to go. I've tied all of my knots. So I'm going to pop off my caps. That was a satisfying sound. And slide off my yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 5. You could even do 6. 5 is fine. This one's ready to have the twist set. Now the scary part is that you do have to cut the yarn, unfortunately, when you do this multiple times. So if you're ever wondering why there's some knots in your yarn when it's hand spun, this is probably why. So I'm gonna, I hate doing this, I'm gonna cut where I just finished plying. So I'm gonna take the end of my yarn and I'm just gonna hold it in the center of my niddy noddy with my hand. Now I'm gonna go up and down and up and down, up, down, niddy, noddy, niddy, noddy, using my left hand to provide the tension, and my right hand is moving the niddy noddy. There's a rhyme for this, but I don't remember what it is. When you get all the way to the beginning, remember we tied a knot here, so I'm just going to untie it. Here's the end I started with in the middle. The ply is trying to come undone, so I'm just going to twist it a little bit extra and then use friction to kind of shove it into the rest of the yarn, which was under tension, and that will help keep the ply in place. Here is my end that I just disconnected from my starter yarn. Same sort of deal. I'm just going to run it along the rest of the wool so that that friction will help hold it until I can actually set the twist. And now we do it again.